Blanchard has always taught us that feedback is the breakfast of champions. Many people think that knowledge and skill is the same thing, but they clearly aren't. They are completely two different elements. Knowledge is learning about something. We can read a book and we can talk knowledgeably about it, but we might not have the skill to actually exercise what needs to be done, to actually do it. So skill is all about doing it. How do you do it is the skill. Knowledge is what is it that needs to be done. So we've got to start with knowledge. We've got to start by first understanding what it is that we are trying to achieve. And once we know that, we then go about actually practicing it and until we have mastered the art, until we have developed the skill. So we can think about it like somebody who needs to learn to use the internet, how to use Google as an example. We all take that for granted today, but somebody that's never been exposed to it, you need to take them through a step-by-step approach on how to actually do it. So we start off by explaining what the internet is. That's the knowledge element. What is it all about? And then how do you actually use it for a particular gain? So let's examine how we build that skill. How do we convert knowledge to skill? So it starts off with telling somebody what needs to be done. And if we imagine a typical teenager, I think of my teenagers, they're a little bit older than that now, but when they were still at school, going to private schools, getting very good grades, yet you ask them to wash a car, and you have to go right down to basics to teach them. Imagine that somebody like that shouldn't need to be taught how to wash a car, and yet we know that they do. So if we don't take them through a structured approach, we are not going to get the end result that we want. So we can show them a picture of a clean car and ask them to do it, but they won't necessarily know to wipe the shiny parts, to take away those white lines, or to clean the windows with a chamois cloth to make sure that we get rid of any soap marks on the car. So there's a process we have to follow. So it starts with telling them what's expected of them. So we need to go through that process. That's the knowledge element. Then the next element is to show them an example so that they can actually see what we mean. So I might do the fender, for example, and say, now that's what a clean fender looks like, and that's how you do it. The next stage, of course, is letting them try themselves. So they would be doing that under supervision. And once they've done it, you'll give them feedback on how they're doing, either positive or negative. And it's that 4-point program that actually builds a skill. Now, Ken Blanchard actually mastered that. And of all the things that I've looked at in terms of teaching skills, I still come back to that very simple process. It's simple, it's effective, and it makes sense. Now, if I teach somebody to wash a car like that, let's take that straight A student, and they don't want to actually do it, then you have a separate problem. But given that they do want to, you have to go through that process. However, if after going through that process 3 or 4 times and they desperately want to and they still haven't mastered it, perhaps there's an ability issue. Believe it or not, yes, not everybody can do everything. And if somebody tries and tries and tries and they're extremely willing, they're intelligent, but they might not have the aptitude for that particular task. So we need to understand that to develop a skill is different to the knowledge. Just because we've read the book and we can speak the speak doesn't mean that we can do it. So we need to go through tell, show, let them try, and give them feedback on how they're doing. And it's through that process that we get them to actually develop a skill. Blanchard has always taught us that feedback is the breakfast of champions.